This is a cup drive center. And I'm looking at you guys because I know you don't know what that is. And what a cup drive center is, and what it is it's a safety center. And I'll show you how it works, but just so you have an idea, so there's this little point and then this cup, and believe it or not, this will drive a big chunk of wood. But when you get a catch, it spins versus does tricks. Because when it does tricks, it really sucks. But so that's what this is. This is a drive center. And then these are the type of bowls that I'm talking about. And I like to have this little foot here in a nice little shape, because I don't like a bowl to sit flat on the table. When you give this a little bit of lift, it looks like it's rising above the table, it's floating on the table versus attached to the table. So it doesn't take much just to add a little bit to the bottom. And you know, I did that here, and you know, pretty much all my bowls have something lifting off the table. I don't like it unless it's something like this. And now this is a round bottom calabash type bowl, that is. Nice thing about calabash bowl is they spin awesome like that. You know, so they just spin, it's like awesome. And they have ballast, you know, so they'll always stay upright. So if you're in a sailboat and the boat is tilted, this will always roll back up, so it's like so, because of the ballast. You know, and so that one, and then this is another one that is around. This is ash, and this is cherry. And the other thing I like to do, you can really see it here, is line up my grains. So when I cut my log, the first thing I do is I measure for my grains. That's pretty much the only time I measure, is when I get ready to cut the log. Everything I do is green, except for that thing there. That's not going to be green anymore. But I like turning green wood. But if you do it right, you get this, I call them eyes, you know, so they line up right here. And that's because when I cut it, I made sure I was there. Because the pith is never in the middle of the tree. The pith is always somewhere. It's floating around in the tree. So I just bought a big log. I bet you the pith is like 6 inches off of one side, you know, and all that growth came out that way. But the nice thing is, if you do that, then you've got that nice look. And you've got 2 eyes, you've got a nice pattern going on. And the same thing here, you got a nice pattern. And I like that. You know? Again, see, I just got this, I got the 2 eyes. I go out of my way to try to make sure. Sometimes it doesn't, sometimes you can't do that. But that's pretty much how I like to do it, you know. So you can see that's the sapwood. And the sapwood is even on both sides. And I'll show you how I line it up. I'm going to do that in a moment, just so you have an idea how that stuff is going on. The other thing is this chain. And when I first started, I learned this from one of the symposiums I went to, probably in Georgia, Ellsworth maybe even. This is a nice trick. If you're trying to get a nice form and you can't really see what's going on, it's in your truck and you're looking at it, take it off, mount it someplace, and then use a chain. And this is the form that you're looking for. This is always a pleasing form. If you're making a bowl, that's a pleasing form. This is always a pleasing form. You know, so depending on what you're trying to do. But a chain, so you just use this and you can, oh, okay. Or you say, oh, no, this really sucks, so why don't we get rid of some of this wood that doesn't belong here? Because the chain is telling you it doesn't belong there. And if you do that enough times, pretty soon you just see it. You don't need the chain. Yeah. This is another nice tool, and that's the golden ratio tool. And that's the 2/3, 1/3, 2/5, 3/5. Yeah. Is what that is. And if you use this, you kind of like, this is not right, you know, because this movement is way up here and I got that. That should be a little bit lower. But the way to use it would be kind of like so. You can see that's where it should have been. It should have been down a little bit lower. So you've got a pleasing ratio going on, you know, so it's coming up and it rounds off at the right time. And if you use this, or you use that number, And I only use this now. I've never needed this. I only bought it because it was shiny. It is really shiny. It's a nice one too. But every now and then I might grab it just to see like that, the urn. That movement is right where it belongs. That's why you got a nice pleasing shape, and then when it returns back up into the top and flows out, it's right there at that 2/3 mark.
So how do you use the tool again?
It's
I got a cylinder box.
no, it's like a bowl. It's anything that I do.
Yeah.
When you make that turn, you know. So see, this is coming up, and it makes that turn right there. If you want to see if you're doing it right, you know. So that's where the turn is. See where that turn is? So that's 1/3 of the bowl, and this is 2/3 of the bowl. So this comes up at 2/3. Then I make the turn to go back in, and that's pretty close to what we're looking for. Can you see that?
It's
And
the
the bottom-
golden rule in turning. You go by threes.
It's not the golden rule. It's the
Well,
golden ratio.
ratio,
Because I
yes.
said rule on Facebook, and I got so much
Oh, yeah,
shit from
yeah.
that.
But you don't do things in the middle of it. You go by threes. The same thing with the foot he was talking about. You want, it's the third of the rim. It's I have a guy years ago in the other club we were in. One of the guys made one. I've got one that he made, one of those out of wood. It's
Yeah,
really
right,
done
yeah.
nice. Yeah, and when like you have it, when you move this, these move.
Yeah, they always move just like
it
so.
gives
So
you
this
the
is always
thirds.
1/3,
From a
2/3.
sailing chart. Those
So-
tools were devised from a sailing chart. That tool shows you the distance on your longitude and your latitude.
I'm a sailor. I never saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sailed all over the place,
Yeah.
single-handed, offshore,
Yeah.
in my own little sailboat,
Yeah.
and we didn't have that.
Yeah, what do they do?
You got the stars, and you made it back.
We didn't have that. I called GPS.
Yeah, right.
So what does the third point to?
See, that's the third point is the 1/3. So this is your 1/3 here. That's your 2/3. So this is the 1/3. That's your 2/3.
So you just do that by eye, or?
Well, like I don't do this use this really. I only use this to check myself once in a while.
Yeah.
Or to do that urn. I really wanted the urns to be perfect. And so I was making sure that turn was where it belonged. But now, like I'll do it because I've done them so often, and I used to just use the ruler, use that 1/3, 2/3, just to make sure that movement was in the right spot. But you do that enough times, it trains the eye to do it right. And now I just, once in a while, just for the fun of this, God, I'm right on it. And that's when I go to say, I'm pretty awesome.
If you were making a lidded container out of this, you don't want to be cutting it in half. You want to be.
Well, what I would want to do was to have that profile right here. And I brought this piece of wood for a reason. I'm glad you picked that up. Because this is end grain. This is end grain. And no one likes to turn end grain. They say, oh, I don't want to turn, I want to turn bowls. But guess what? Most of your bowl is end grain. Because that's your bowl. This is all end grain. This is all end grain. And so that tear out you're gonna find yourself getting all the time is mostly the end grain. The face grain, this stuff here, that just cuts really nice. And then you get tear out, then you get the nice, and that's what happens, and then you hit that hard end grain. And it's really hard to finish. You know, it's, oh God, how come it takes me forever to sand it? It's because you're sanding the end of a 2x4. And nobody wants to do that. You know, they want to, you know, sand down the face or something like that. And that's what this is. So a lot of your bowl is end grain turning. And once you realize that, now you can adjust your tools. And if we're lucky, I might show you how. Because I do have some tools that will help me. You know, so I'll end up going down to this. I'll start with a 5/8, and I can go to a 1/2 inch, and I go to 3/8, because the smaller it is, the more cleaner a cut I can get. And that way I don't have to use the scraper. I don't have to use 80 grit sandpaper, because I've got a nice cut that started out. So, here's a block of wood. This is a piece of cherry. I already got my center point right here. I'm gonna stick that in here. And I'm gonna show you how I line it up. And here's that's that pith right here. You know, so actually the pith would be over here someplace. But what I want, in order to get this right, I'll take this little laser, kind of like one of them little pointy lights, and I'll just mine. So I know here's this point, so I want to make sure this is here, and then I come over here, and I say, oh, I'm way off. So I'm going to move this over a little bit more. So that's pretty close. Now I want to make sure this is still running pretty true. So that's pretty close. So I've decided where all my grains are going to be with this little light, versus just sticking it on. People, and there's nothing wrong with, if I say, you know, people use faceplates, they just jam it on there and stick it in there, and they don't give a shit because all they want to do is make something round that looks like a bowl. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, if that's what makes you happy, go for it. But if you're anal and you really want to have something nice, then you're going to have to go a couple steps further. And that's what I use this for. Some people just eyeball it. Some people use their fingers. Some people use a pencil. I really like the results that I get out of this. And when I'm doing a natural edge bowl, I'll just do the opposite. Like if this was around the other way, I would use my light. And I'll make sure that the two tops are level. And so I don't have a thing like this. I'll make sure that these 2 points are level. So I don't have a point that's this high in the back and this in the front. You know, so this is, if you take a little extra time, you can really get something nice. And that's all we're trying to do is make nice stuff, I think. And in the beginning, I wasn't making nice stuff. I was making junk, and it was flying, and it was chasing after me. I was chasing after it because I didn't know. But I went to a lot of symposiums. I listened to a lot of those people. I questioned them. I didn't think they knew what they were talking about. You know, Jimmy Clue, I said, Jimmy, do you really know what you're talking about? and he looked at me, that was in Georgia, and he looked at me, he's like, you know who you're talking to? Yeah, but the guy in the next room just told me something opposite. Just opposite. And again, this is dovetail, and right now I know dovetail is stronger than that the other type that's just a straight. And I learned that by trying to do coring. When you're doing coring, it will spin on inside of that. This has so much more holding power, the dovetail. I think, again, in my opinion, it just has so much, and it's a fact because this thing was spinning, and then when I got these drawers, so this is all I have now is these drawers. I got a bunch of the other drawers too because I don't use them anymore. But the thing is, I can core with this type of jaw, and it won't spin. And coring means I'm trying to get a whole bunch of bowls out of a big piece of wood. Is pretty much what coring's all about. Okay. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm tight and I'm talking, I'm not paying attention.
So how does this piece you stuck in the headstock engage the wood so you can turn?
It's just like it's just a sharp edge that jams, and right now it's not tight enough because I'm talking, I'm not paying attention. So what I want to do is crank that in, and then you spin it a little bit. You crank it in a little bit more. Now it's almost tight. Now it's good and tight. I very seldom use this at home. I got a nice 4-jaw drive center, and I like that one because it just works much better for me. And I'm not as concerned about getting catches. But if you're new, get one of these because you're going to get a catch. And then you're gonna get another one, until finally you're gonna say, this sucks. I think anyway, at least that's how it happened with me. I'm only talking about me. That's what happened to me. So, this is what I'm gonna do now. I'm gonna drop that a little bit down below center. I'm gonna get this back out of here. So it's spinning. Always spin your wood before you turn the machine on. And I have no idea what gear I'm in. I don't know what speed I'm in. We're in forward. I guess that means it's gonna go when I turn it on. Okay, I'm gonna turn it on, be careful. And the other thing, see what I was gonna do when I turn it on? I'm getting out of the way.
Yes, that's right.
That's called the line of fire, because when this flies, it's only gonna go this way. So I don't wanna reach over here. I don't wanna reach over here, because it's gonna come right at you. You know, so you always stay out of the line of fire. It's so important. I got my lathe has a on-off button, and it moves around with me. You know, so it's always over here. So whenever I'm turning it on, I'm always most of my turning is out of the line of fire. Once in a while, I'm in front of it because I'm doing something that I need to be here. But most of what I'm doing is out of the line of fire, which is important. So now we're going to see what speed we're on.
And you're
Oh, it
turning
looks
that-
right there. We're around 1200.
You're turning that because you want to make sure you're clearing that tool.
Yeah, I want to make sure it doesn't hit. So when I turn that on, it doesn't go boom. So let's see what happens. I'm going to get my hand on the go and the stop.
Oh, good.
Okay, that means we're going too fast. Is there a?
It's a belt, sir. You
Yes.
can open it up.
Oh, so we can't.
Yeah, it's not variable speed.
There's none in there. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm going to slow it down.
Well, vibration. You undo the
Down there.
T handle.
Yeah. I wanted to know what direction to go in. We're going to drop down two belts.
Very difficult when you do a demo on somebody else's lathe.
When you switch these belts and they're in these grooves, make sure you have them in the same grooves. Because if you got them crossed, you're going to cut the crap out of the belt. I know that. First, you're going to hear funny noises, and then you're going to ignore them because that's what we do, and hope they go away. And then eventually you're going to say, well, what is that? And you're going to say, oh, I know. Okay, let's try this again. I can live with that. So I drop my handle down low like this. That's the bevel low. And so I'm dropping that down and I'm cutting with this edge. Right there. So I'm gonna just drop it down and I'm just gonna bring it across. And now I'm just trying to get rid of some wood, that's all I want. See how it wants to slow down? It's because it's slipping on that. And that's its purpose, is to slow. Now what I want to do is I'm just going to go way up front here by the, I just want to see what I got. I'm making room to put my tenon on now. That's the next step I want to do. I get rid of some of this wood, and then I want to make a flat spot so when I put my mark on it, I have a circle, a full circle, and that will determine my my tenon, where the tenon's going to be. And then once I get the tenon, mark the tenon in my tenon marker. Look at this. To put everything in. This is already the right size for my tenon. So I pretty much put this over here like this here. I give it a spin. I want to make sure that it's the right size, and it's just right on the money. And that's what happens when you do the same thing over and over and over again. It just happens the right way. When you learn how to do it, it just happens the wrong way, over and over and over again. But so that's my tenon. So now I'm going to put my tenon on.
So I thought you said you like to use what?
Dovetail?
Dovetail, yeah.
That's what I'm going to use.
Are you putting a tenon on?
A dovetail tenon.
Okay.
No, I'm not going to open it. I like to close on my tenon.
So the tenon will still have a dovetail on it.
Yeah, this is the tenon, and that's a dovetail. Can you see that shape?
Gotcha.
So it's a dovetail
Gotcha.
versus just that straight with the little teeth that bite into it. And they work nice unless you're trying to do a core and you're getting a lot of trouble coring. Then once it spins on that, there's nothing you can do. You can't tighten it up. The more you tighten it, because it's just going to keep spinning on that. And I found that out the hard way. And then I said, okay, this is not working, so I'm not coring because it won't let me. So, this one here, that's like a little detail gouge. Nice little point on it, and this is how I make my dovetails. Some people have a special tool just for doing a dovetail. It's a perfect tool. It goes right in, and it's done. I make them like with this here, and I don't have a problem. So I don't need that special tool. This is a really nice little tool. And now what I'll do is I'll just take more wood off right now. And now I'm just going just about as deep as I want my dovetail to be. That's about what I want. And now I'm going to go up to that little line I drew. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in like so and drag it out. And I can see that dovetail forming. So I want to get a little bit more of a dovetail. Now the thing that's important with a dovetail is that this shoulder is high. You want this to be pitching in. So when the dovetail, the thing about a dovetail chuck is when it closes on that dovetail, it actually drags this against the face of the chuck. So you want this to be a nice clean point in here. You want that straight. You don't want a little bump in there. You want to make sure that that goes in straight, and you want to make sure that that's at an angle coming back out. Not a big one, just enough. So when it clamps, it draws it tight because the holding power is here and it's on the outside. So it'll keep that work from bouncing around is what happens when you're using that dovetail the right way.
And that's assuming you have a dovetail chuck.
Well, that's assuming no matter what chuck you're using, you still want it to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
In? 'Cause
Oh, no,
mine's-
no.
Mine's got straight edges.
Okay, your straight edge, you still want, so you want
I want
this.
I want a flat shoulder.
No.
No?
You want this to be straight,
Yes.
but you still want this to come out a little bit. you want the outside edge. So that's guaranteeing the outside edge is going to be sitting against your chalk and not the inside edge. Because if you got it tilted a little bit the wrong way, the only thing it's going to be holding is that, and it's going to want to rock. So by having it the way I'm explaining, straight jaws or dovetail jaws, it's on the outside surface of that chalk. You know, this is just a little one, but I got some of them. The bigger they are, the wider this gets. But you want to make sure that this is the area that's touching, not the inside. You also want to make sure that that dovetail doesn't touch here. You don't want it to seat here, because as soon as it seats here, this can't drag it in. And that's going to prevent it from, in straight jaws too, no matter which kind of, you always want this to be off a little bit. When you're new at this, you want to try to get it 7/8. You want to get it as deep as you can, because that's going to give you a lot more strength. But when you get better at it, like I can turn with a 1/4 inch. You know, I don't need a big one because I'm a little bit better at it. But if I'm doing something that's really weird, I'll make sure I go a little deeper, and I'll make sure that everything is the right way. So now what I got is, that's nice, that's nice. And so when I get ready to put it in here, you'll see that it's going to work. But in the meantime, now I'm going to get rid of some more of this stuff here. So we don't need that there. The other thing is I want to be able to turn this. So right now I know this is the foot of my bowl. That's going to be the foot. When I get ready to take that tenon off, the tenon's going to go. So I know somewhere out here, this is going to be the foot. So I know from here to up here. So once I find out once I make this top round, then I know from here to here how I can form my bowl. Doing now is I just take this bevel and I put it on that surface, and then I just push the bevel, and the bevel will follow that curve right up to the top. You know, so I'm basically just coming here and I'm just letting it run across, and you get a nice clean cut. You know, I still got wood there. I still got to take more wood off of there, so we're not around yet. Going to take a little more. The other thing I'm doing is when I'm going through there, I got my tool presented to my wood almost like so. And that means it's almost closed. So the odds of me getting a catch are limited now because I'm like so. And if I do get a catch, it's going to be a little one too. And now when I want to get rid of more wood, now I open that tool up. And then when I'm open like this, now I'm taking big hunks of wood out of there. But you know, I also will get a catch if I'm not paying attention. And now this becomes a more serious catch. So you can cut it, close it up a little bit and you get rid of it. And when you're new, just take that time. You don't have to race. We're having fun. We're supposed to have fun. So take your time, enjoy it, slow it down until you get a feel for it. You get that muscle memory. You get all that stuff going on that happens after doing a whole bunch of bowls. So, yeah.
I saw some program once that the guy was commenting that this particular approach allows you to cut wood really fast. And he said, woodwork is slow. If you want to go fast, get a sports car.
Move this over some more. see, I spun it by hand, now I'm hitting. Now, if I turned it on, it wouldn't have been very nice. Now we're good. Let's get rid of some more wood. And don't be afraid to turn the machine off and take a look and see where you're at. You know, so I still got some more wood to get off on, yeah. And I got some stuff over here we still want to do. Now I'm looking over here, and I'm watching how my bowl is forming. You know, I really don't need to be paying attention here, so I'm watching what's going on. I can see what's going on. I can see there's a little valley right here, so I'm going to get rid of that.
Is that greenwood, did you say?
Cherry, yeah, green cherry, it's wet. And now I'm going to clean up the face here. And by doing that, that'll give me an idea how much depth I'm going to have. It's going to tell me what I'm going to be able to do with this bowl. So that's going to be the top of my bowl and my bottom. Put this up a bit more. Right now I'm actually developing that little ride that I love. And that's what's going on right there. So once I get that kind of close, now I can spin it around. That gives me a little bit of an idea what I want. Now, that's a little bit rough there. I can clean it right now if I want, but I'm not going to. I'm going to actually wait till I put it in the chuck. I'll mount it in the chuck, because once you mount it in the chuck, it's going to wobble anyway, no matter what. You're always going to get a little wobble. So instead of making this all clean and then turn it around, then you're going to make it all clean again because it's all wobbling. So let's get this out of here. and that's pretty much all that drives it. It's just that, you can see that, right? I like to give it a little spin in case there's little fuzzies, so that makes a seat. You really want it to seat tight against that, and then you draw it in. You can actually see that the outside part of that jaw is touching, and you can see a little bit of light on the bottom part of that jaw. You can't see it. I can barely see it, but I know it's happening. And you're gonna have to trust me on that one. Now let's just stick this here, because it doesn't hurt. It's not in my way. Just in case something goes wrong, it helps.
Good.
Pretty good. Never move anything when the laser runs. Just so you know.
Did that on purpose.
That was a good demonstration.
That's an important thing. Never do that.
Roland, that's on film.
When I'm at home, I don't do that. And when I'm at home, I'm only thinking about what I'm doing. Now I'm thinking everybody's watching me and all that happy crap. And I also have a certain amount of time that I have to work with. So, and again, that's a fact. You should not be moving this with this running.
That's right.
It's just, you shouldn't. Doesn't mean you won't, because from time to time you will. And right now I'm still trying to develop that bottom. And this is basically a shear cut, so I'm using this part of my cutting tool right now. Not so much the tip, but this edge right here. And I can drop the handle down, and I can just roll it around like so. What that does is just gives me a nice thing, and I'm just watching that shape, getting a nice defined shape going on. And I'm going to put a little rim on it, so it's going to be my rim, so we're going to do that a little bit smaller. Drop it down. Smaller, a little bit smaller, so it's going to give me a cleaner cut. Cut a little bit now. And that's actually pretty smooth right now. 'Cause I don't have a lot of tear up, feels good. Right now, that's not right, there's a little root right there, so I'm gonna clean that up right away. That's good. Now we're gonna go on the inside. I still leave my center there, it's not hurting.
Can't see. Guys can't see you.
What, I'm blocking the
You're
right?
gonna have to come this way because you're blocking the camera too.
Right in the middle of the camera.
Maybe come
No.
right here.
Preston, we don't need to back your head.
See, we're balanced pretty good right now, I can change my speed a little bit. And I'm doing the same thing, that's the bevel, I'm just catching that cut and riding that bevel straight through. And pick it up out here. And I've got my cutter about like so, so that's maybe, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, it's over here someplace.
Pointing towards 2 o'clock.
Yeah, that's where you want it. You don't want to leave it open, or you can close it up as much as you want. But right now, that's a nice comfortable cut. You can see the shavings coming off of it pretty good. And then you want your handle to be dropped down. So all I was trying to do then is just get rid of wood. You know, I don't even care what kind of cut it is, I just get rid of the wood. And now it's pretty much where I want it, so we don't need this thing here anymore. I'm gonna put this in my toolbox. Because I don't want to leave it behind. This out of here. Down like so. Now I'm going to get rid of that inside. And I basically can use this as a drill, and that's what I'm doing right now. I'm just going to that center, finding that center, and just using this and just letting it find its way right down. And then once I get so far, now I can get rid of it. So once I get a higher point, now I can just get rid of that. And then just start again. With my hands. Learn to turn with both hands. So that way, because sometimes you can't always do it. So if you learn to use both hands, you don't even think you're using both hands. You're just going to go to the hand that makes it easy. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into here. I'm going to come back like so. And right now is the perfect time to practice on making a nice flat bottom, a nice smooth bottom, so you don't have that little nub in the bottom here. So if you take the time right now to practice, instead of waiting till you're at the bottom of the bowl, you're at the bottom of the bowl, you can't see what you're doing. Or when you're up top here, take the time to practice and try to make as clean a cut as you can get. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start cutting, and I'm going to make sure that from here to here, I'm going to try to make sure that it's nice and clean. And every cut can be determined, you can make every cut a final cut, a finished cut, when you're learning how to do it. Like you saw me just trying to get rid of wood chips, I'm just kind of cleaning out because you all want to go home. But you want to practice, and here's a finished cut. Can I go from here to there and make it a nice smooth? I got a lot of tear out on that end grain right now, but I don't care, we're just getting it clean. Now I'll move this back in there a little bit. And you see how I'm swinging my body? Swinging your body has so much more tool control than if I were just doing this here. But if I'm swinging, if I'm coming up, I'm catching it, and now I'm just going to let my body move. You know, because if this was a sliding headstock, I could bring this all the way over here, and then I could start here and I'd be working this way. But now I'm reaching over. I'm riding that bevel all the way down. And that's one continuous cut. And if you can learn how to do it, one continuous cut, you get a nice finish from top to bottom. So what I want to do now is I want to determine my thickness. So I'm going to bring this over like that. So that's my thickness. Yeah, make sure that this is. And I just did what I said never to do. Now I make sure that's flat. But this is my finished top right now. So I got a finished top. Have that one down here. Can you see?
Yes.
Can you remind them how to do it right? Then I'm going to just bring this back over. Now I have a little shoulder now I can ride that bevel on. Otherwise it wants to skate out of here. So now that I have a place to stop, I can start it here. I want to try to figure out what my thickness is. This nice little cattle. And that's how my wall thickness is going to be, from top to bottom, hopefully. start thinking, as soon as I put it over there someplace, I'm gonna forget it. So now I got a wall thickness, so when I run my bevel against that wall thickness, I can follow that wall thickness all the way down and around. So that's just getting rid of wood. And now this is going to be a finished cut. So I'm going to come back out, find where that wall is. From this stuff will be this stuff again. I want to see how much wood I got in the bottom. But no, I still got a lot of wood. I don't even have to measure right now. I want to get a little bit more wood over there. Okay, it's still heavy down there. So I can actually feel that, how heavy it is down. So I'm going to get rid of some more of that wood down there.
Roland, when you're cutting the inside, where are you looking? At that wall towards you or away from you? Like, yeah,
I'm watching the outside.
the outside?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because your mind knows what's going on. I'm trying to say, like, you can close your eyes and clap your hands and you know where each hand is. And it's the same principle. So when I know what's going on out there, this hand will almost follow that curve. But again, the first time you're not. First time you're going to blow right through it. Second time you're going to almost go through it. You know, it depends how many times you do it. You will get to the point where your hand will follow that outside curve. So that's what you're looking for, this shape. So I know as I'm going down there, I'm looking at that, I need to follow that. I know that I need this shape to copy this shape. And that's what I'm looking at. And if there were more light, I would see more inside, but I can't really see what's going on. And that's another reason why you want to pay attention outside. At least you can see on the outside. So I'm using that bevel just to clean up what's going on, and now I can turn it, find that cutting edge. And once I find the cutting edge, now I can just push that bevel straight down and around. One nice continuous cut. I use this tool. This will help me decide how much wood I got in the bottom.
Here's my calipers.
And that's how much wood I got. That's probably about an inch or so. So we're going to be happy with that for the time being, but I know I can, when I make this curve, I can take a little bit more wood out. I don't want to make the bottom the same thickness now as my walls, because when I remount this, I want to be able to take more wood off the bottom here. I want to be able to make this flat, because right now, when this cups, the bottom gets out around. You can see how oval this is right now. So I'm going to jam chuck this and make this round. I'm going to flatten this, and now I'm going to turn it around and put it back in this chuck. And now I can sand the whole thing out and clean it all up and put whatever finish I want on it. And then when it's finally all done, I'll remount it, I cut this off, and then I put a nice recess down below. So the only part that touches is the outside ring. You don't want the whole thing to sit flat. You just want that outside to sit on top of the table. Because if you're using a flat surface, then it's going to want to, if there's any little discrepancy on the table, it's going to find it and it's going to wobble around. So you make sure you put a nice little concave in there, and then you put a nice straight edge across. Make sure that the middle is lower than the outside edge, and that's. So I leave a little extra wood so I got room to play. Sometimes it might get really funky, and I might have to take off a lot of wood here. And sometimes, if it really goes wonko on me, I don't have enough wood. If I took too much out, then there's not enough wood to straighten it. So I'm going to switch over to. I'm going to go back over here now. And I went back to that 1/2 inch.
What does that do for you? Why did you go to this smaller?
The 1/2 inch is going to give me a cleaner cut. It's going to, instead of trying to get these big chips, now I just want those little angel hair cuts to come out of here, so I can just, and then that's going to make it easier for me to sweep it around and go down the bottom of the hill that way. I've got less steel messing with me inside that. And that's nice and smooth right here where I just cut it. Now when I'm at home, I got lights everywhere. I can hardly even see what's going on in that hole right now. Always gotta check this out again, make sure. So I'm almost where I want to be, right here. So I'm right up to here. Now I just want to get rid of some more wood out on the bottom here.
Roland, are you, this is green?
Green, yes.
Are you gonna be stopping at some point and then coming back when it dries to finish up the?
Yeah, that's what these are. These are all green. I turned them green. And that, the other one that I showed you.
Right, but how much thickness are you leaving there to let it dry?
What, the wall thickness?
Yeah, you.
Oh, no. See, this is turned green. That's my finished wall thickness. This wall thickness, I'm never touching this again. In fact, turning green wood, sometimes when I get down to here, I can't come back here anymore because it's already out around that much. So you want to make sure that when you're up here, this is your finished cut up here. And now you get down halfway, now I can make that final turn around the corner because it's going to go out long.
Okay.
And that's what green wood does, unless you're doing a twice turn. If, you know, some of these bowls, you can just do a twice turn on them. And that's what I think you're suggesting, how much wood. And that's 10% is what it's called, of this thickness. So if this was 1 foot, then this is gonna be if this was 10 inches, then this is gonna be a 1 inch thick, because that's the formula.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Right,
Okay.
but these are, all my work is always 1 cup finish. This is it, and then it's gonna do its trick. I don't mind that. My customers like it when they're wonky, when they can see stuff. Like this thing here, you can see how much movement is here. See how much movement? You know, the customers will pick this up and buy it right away because they can't get it at Target. You know, they can't get it in many places. You know, and most guys don't want to even go near Greenwood. I don't want to turn Greenwood, it cracks. It only cracks if you don't do it right. You know, so once in a great while I have it crack. But if your wall thickness is uniform, it's top all the way to the bottom, chances are it's not going to crack. Some things going to. Cherry loves to crack. Beech loves to crack. So there's certain woods love to crack. So it's one of those things you're going to live with. But they don't always crack because this didn't crack, that didn't crack, that didn't crack, that didn't crack. You know, so they don't always crack. And that's really wonky looking. And people like wonky because you can't get that anywhere else. And once you have a style, you develop your own style. And then people are going to come and look just for your work. And it's funny is when I go into somebody's house and I'm looking, actually that happened today. I had a customer, I was at that house and I said, wow, that's a pretty bowl. Wow, that's a pretty bowl. And I said, I made that. I made that. You know, and it's because, you know, customers come to look for my work. Okay, I got to get a little bit more work out of here. And I'm not sure. So I look right that bevel. You can hear that bevel touching. So nothing ever happens when you touch the bevel. You know, nothing happens. It's when you get that cutting edge. So I can ride that bevel, find out where my cut is, turn my cutter into that. And I still got a little funky thing going on here, but I'm not going to do any more because I can't see. And if you can't see what's going on, don't turn. It's because I usually have I have a spotlight here, I have another spotlight here, and I have a big light here, and then I have LEDs all over my shop. You know, so it's really bright, and I don't know how to turn in the dark, so we're not going to do any more. But what I just did was give you an idea about how to make stuff happen. And I'll do one more thing just so you can see how this thing is called. That's that scraper. And it's not a negative rake scraper. But what I do is I just bring my tool up high. So my tool goes in, which makes it a negative rake scraper versus like so. So I'm up like this, and then I'm going to turn it at an angle. So I'm not going to cut like this. I turn it on an angle. So now it's just cutting it. You just want the tip of it to cut. And then when I bring that across, it's a shear scrape. You know, so it's almost cutting versus just scraping. So by bringing it like this, you get that some nice stuff going on. Nice little angel here is coming out of you. And I still see that where my center is, so I can go back over to that. Now I can come back like so. That's pretty much how I use that scraper. You know, and it just works nice if you tip it up a little bit and just drag it around. And then, again, I can't see what's going on in that turn, and that's why I'm going to stop. But if I could see, then I can see the light between here and here, and I'll know what's going on inside of that. You know, and that way I can make that sweep, so it's a continuous sweep right up the wall. And unless this is getting wonky, and you'll know it as soon as you start, it's going to and it's okay. We don't want to come out here anymore because that's going to mean a lot more sanding. But right now, there's a little shoulder, and I can feel that shoulder. I can't see it, but I know it's there, and I would keep getting that clean. So this, I get a little bit more wood out of here. And that's how I do my bowls. Yes? Wait. We got a question. We can't stop till we're done.
So how do you turn it green? How long do you let it sit before you finish it?
I have some bowls that are sitting around for a year, 2 years, 3 years. Only because I rather do this than do finishing work. But I can probably something, if it's the right thickness, like this is like 2 weeks old. And this is ready to finish. You know, so it's thin, so the thinner it is, the quicker it's gonna dry. And if you leave it out in the rain, it's gonna take longer. The humidity right now is so high, it will never dry. So I have it downstairs with humidity at 55%. A dehumidifier is sucking all the water out, keeps it like that, and that's why this can dry in a couple of weeks. That urn that I have there, that turned green, and I think it took me 3 weeks to finish it. But I kept it down below. I think I nuked it a couple times just to accelerate that water. And then I just let it dry. And it takes it, and I use a moisture meter, put the moisture meter on it, and make sure that it's drying. It gets down to 10%, 8%, somewhere in that. And then now I can finish the outside, and then I wait, and then I'll finish the inside till I want to make sure it's completely dry before I completely seal it in. And that's why. So some stuff will dry quick, as long as you don't leave it. Like, I can have this down in my space down below where it's 55% humidity, and I can bring it up. And now my table is going to be 12%, and it's still dry. You know, and that's because so much moisture is in the air. So this is going to rise up in moisture content as it sits upstairs in the humid weather. So I'll bring this up, I'll sand it down, I'll put the finish on it right away. And the very last thing I do is this bottom foot. So, and then I'll make sure that's nice and flat. And even though this is, you can see that's really wonky, as long as this bottom is flat, it's going to sit on the table always nice and flat. And sometimes, when this is up like this and I'm trying to make this flat, sometimes this is going to drop a little bit, and then I end up fairing it out so it looks the same all the way around. It's not going to be the same because, you know, this is higher than that, but I can fair it out and make it look nice, and that's the thing, as long as it looks nice. Yes?
Just use a jam chuck and a floating tailstock to get rid of the tenon on the bottom.
Right, I'll just use that, you know, basically. Not so much, it can't be a jam chuck because it's a friction chuck, because this isn't round, this isn't flat, so there's only going to be 2 points that touch. I have a heavy piece of rubber, probably 3/4 of an inch thick, it's a little dense. So when I put it against that, and I'll push it tight, then these 2 points are tight against it, but the rubber's dense enough to pick this up so it's not going to wobble. So when it's in the chuck, when it's in that flat surface, it's going to stay fairly decent. And then I'll use that live center here. And then outside. And the last thing I do is I have a little nub, and then I cut that little nub off, and then I sand it off. And that's how I do that. Okay? Now we can clap. Oh, no. Oh, you can't. He wants to know if we can clap. Thank you.